These days, Israelis find themselves increasingly anxious about the possibility of a retaliatory attack from Iran. This heightened concern follows the regime's assassination of two figures in the resistance axis: martyr Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, and martyr Fuad Shukr, a senior commander of Hezbollah. The United States, Israel's primary ally, has been working around the clock to thwart any Iranian retaliation, employing a mix of threats and efforts to forge regional coalitions. Meanwhile, Iran has consistently asserted its right to respond to the killing of its diplomatic guests on Iranian soil, making this clear in discussions with various heads of state and at international forums. Despite claiming to be prepared for any scenario from Iran, Israelis cannot hide the underlying fear of possible strikes from the resistance axis, with Tehran at the forefront. Since the fateful assassination of martyr Ismail Haniyeh in the heart of Tehran, the air has been charged with anticipation. Every single day, if not every hour, global media outlets echo a similar refrain. The Islamic Republic of Iran's retaliatory operation is imminent. As the drums of war resound through the region, the world holds its breath. Yet, Tehran remains strategically silent, biding its time in the shadow of Israel's unspeakable crime. The stage is set for a reckoning, but will the curtain rise, and when? Dr. Hossein Ajorlu, a senior Iranian expert on West Asia and international relations.
در مورد اینکه چرا به تأخیر افتاده، خب میتونیم دلایل متعددی بگیم.
Why hasn't Iran carried out its retaliatory attack? There could be several reasons for this. First, the Islamic Republic is a prudent actor in the region with a foreign policy approach that aims for peace and stability. Essentially, Tehran is not interested in escalating tensions. Therefore, before initiating any operation against the Israeli regime, Tehran finds it essential to engage in diplomatic initiatives both regionally and on international platforms to mitigate what could become a volatile situation. This process, needless to say, requires time. This is one reason for what some refer to as a delay in Iran's retaliatory operation.
Iran's measured patience in responding to Israel has left the regime in a state of uncertainty. As the world anticipates Iran's counteraction and assertion of its right to self-defense, it appears that the country is in no hurry to act. Some analysts suggest that Iran is intentionally applying psychological pressure on Israel, creating an atmosphere of unease. Though the actual confrontation has yet to unfold, the repercussions are already being felt. Israel is grappling with the invisible wounds inflicted by this ongoing tension. The expectation of a response from Iran, combined with economic uncertainty and disruptions to daily life, has intensified psychological stress among Israeli politicians and settlers alike. Do you think that the Islamic Republic, by delaying the response to the assassination of martyr Ismail Haniyeh, has started a psychological war against the Israeli regime?
اصولاً رژیم صهیونیستی اقدامش بخش از اقدام تروری که انجام داده.
Basically, Israel's recent act of terror is part of the regime's psychological warfare against Iran. Interestingly, Iran's delay in its retaliatory operation, keeping them waiting, is also a form of psychological warfare against Tel Aviv, as it refrains from responding in kind. Iran has not fired a single missile at the regime, yet the Israelis are already trembling with fear. They're paying part of the price even before Tehran launches any military attack on them.
Meanwhile, Iran's forthcoming response, which has yet to expedite, is expected to involve a multifaceted approach. This could include a series of diplomatic initiatives, multilateral negotiations, and meetings with organizations like the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Dr. Hossein Kanani Muqaddam, a senior Middle East expert and the Secretary General of Anti-Zionism International Society, located in Tehran.
شهید هنیه متعلق به ایران که نیست
متعلق به کل جبهه مقاومت.
Matir Haniya did not belong solely to Iran, but to the entire resistance axis. Thus, the entire axis is seeking revenge for the assassination of the Hamas political leader. In my view, the war will be hybrid, protracted, and erosive. Each faction of the axis, including Iran, Ansarullah, Hashd-e-Shabi, and Hezbollah, will act according to their own strategies, albeit in a coordinated manner. What is clear is that the resistance axis will retaliate against the Israeli regime, the entity responsible for the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh.
Historically, Iran's operations have demonstrated a measured pace. Last time in April this year, it took 13 days for Operation True Promise to be executed. Mohammad Javad Akhavan, the editor-in-chief of Javan Daily. Why did Iran didn't attack the Israeli regime in retaliation for the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh instantly?
جمهوری اسلامی ایران همون لحظه اول واکنش نشون نداده.
The Islamic Republic has not exhibited a military response so far. In fact, Tehran's reactions have never been impulsive in nature. Tehran takes its time before making any decisions. Based on experience, Tehran consistently makes decisive yet rational choices. Operation True Promise exemplified this. It was the largest operation against the Israeli regime, but importantly, it did not escalate into a full-scale war between Iran and Israel. Why? Because it was designed to have a deterrent effect. Regardless of the situation, Iran's next move will leave the Israelis regretting their actions.
With Tehran's sword of Damocles over Israel's head, one question looms large. Can the regime withstand the fury of the Islamic Republic in the event of a full-scale war? As tensions mount, the specter of Iranian drones and missiles looms ever closer, and their potential target have preoccupied the minds of Israeli top brass.
ما جنگ روانی رو خیلی وقت شروع کردیم.
We have already initiated psychological warfare against the Israeli regime, which is particularly vulnerable to it. In his recent speech, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah suggested that revenge would be executed gradually, let's say incrementally, in several stages. That said, Hezbollah has begun firing missiles at the regime. However, the main action from the Islamic Republic is yet to unfold. Tehran is meticulously crafting its revenge plan. After all, we have experienced a transition of power in Iran, and the new administration is in the process of forming its cabinet. Simultaneously, we are witnessing the Arba'in walk. Millions of Iranians are on pilgrimage to the shrine of Imam Hussein in Karbala in Iraq. We also know that Daesh, a pawn in Israel's hands, may carry out acts of terror against the pilgrims at the regime's behest. These are some points in the background. All in all, a sword of revenge hangs over the regime's head, and the Israelis are now living in bunkers out of fear of retaliation.
The Iron Dome's failure in recent months to intercept Hezbollah's projectiles has significantly eroded Israel's public trust in the regime's military capabilities, undermining its deterrent posture. Concurrently, the military, fatigued from ongoing conflicts, is in urgent need of new weaponry. That's while Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu faces immense pressure from within and without. This psychological strain on both military leaders and Netanyahu has sparked discussions about preemptive strikes, although it remains unlikely they would act on these considerations. In April, Israel demonstrated its inability to counter Iran's full-scale operations effectively. Operation True Promise marked the first direct military strike against Israel by Iran after the regime targeted the Iranian consulate in Damascus in Syria. The operation utilized only a small fraction of Iran's available armaments, yet it successfully penetrated the much-lauded Iron Dome.
عملیات بعدی صادق تجربه خیلی خوبی برای ما بود.
Operation True Promise was a valuable experience for us. It revealed the regime's Achilles heel. It demonstrated that the regime's so-called Iron Dome is penetrable. We now understand its weak points, so this time our operation will deliver a heavier blow to the regime if we decide to do so. We have identified over 1,000 military targets that, if destroyed, could seriously challenge the regime's military structure as a whole. Our operation does not aim to instigate a ping-pong war between Iran and Israel. If we initiate military action, it will be so forceful that the regime would not dare to respond. Our action is intended to resolve this dispute, not to escalate tensions in the region.
During Operation True Promise, several Arab states, along with France, the UK, and the US, supported Israel against the operation orchestrated by Tehran, and yet they ultimately failed. This time, Iran is expected to implement new strategies, focusing on exploiting Israel's psychological vulnerabilities and logistical weaknesses. To top it all, it remains uncertain whether Arab countries will align with Israel this time around as they did in April. Dr. Jafar Qannatbashi, a senior Iranian expert on West Asia and North Africa.
The Americans, much like Israelis, are quite vulnerable in the face of a direct war with Iran. While it is true that they have relocated their warships to the region, this is merely a tactic to intimidate us. In the event of a conflict, their warships would be easy, visible targets for Iranian missiles. A direct confrontation with Iran would be the final blow to the U.S. Army. It has already lost its reputation in the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, and in a war with Iran, it would lose whatever remains of it. Needless to say, their military bases in the region are within range. The Americans are well aware of this, which is why they are so hesitant to engage with Iran directly.
The Iranians have issued a chilling declaration for Israel. This time, their operation will be far stronger than Operation True Promise. The stakes have never been higher, and the world watches with bated breath as the drums of war grow louder. Miscalculation and insolence have emerged as key terms used by Iranian officials and commanders to characterize the actions of the Zionists in the assassination of martyr Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Tehran says that the unchecked recklessness of Israel's leaders has compromised their decision-making abilities, resulting in a series of acts of terror against nations in the region.
Israel's miscalculations are worth noting. When the Israelis are so despised globally for their actions in Gaza, they have already activated several fronts in Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. Provoking Iran is a significant miscalculation on their part. They have given us a legal justification to go to war with them by encroaching upon their land. Thus, they have taken a voluntary step toward self-destruction. By many accounts, the Israelis are nearing the end of their history. There is nothing left to provide the regime with a thin veneer of legitimacy. In contrast, over the past few months, the Palestinians have gained legitimacy from the international community. At the UN General Assembly, 143 countries called for Palestine's official membership in the United Nations, while others have separately called for the establishment of Palestine as a country.
After 10 months of brutal war on the Gaza Strip, Israel is now viewed as more defeated and despised by global public opinion than ever. In moments of extreme folly and irrational decision-making, the regime has crossed numerous red lines. The Islamic Republic of Iran has made it abundantly clear that it will not recognize any red lines regarding the punishment of Israel and will show no mercy to the regime. Can Israel withstand Iran's attack?
روبروی ایران و اسرائیل به طور مستقیم
The direct conflict between Iran and Israel will have one loser, the Zionist regime. Given that the occupied territories is a small area geographically, the Israeli regime is inherently lacking in strategic depth, making it relatively easy to target the entire region. In contrast, Iran is a vast country, the 16th largest in the world by area, and the regime would struggle to target the whole nation. Our critical centers are dispersed throughout the country, unlike those of Israel, which are concentrated in a few cities. This makes them particularly vulnerable. Furthermore, the Israeli Prime Minister is facing increasing pressure both domestically and internationally. Even within Israel, many are now holding Netanyahu accountable for their current situation. In Iran, however, the circumstances are quite different. When Iran launched Operation True Promise, nearly 10 million people volunteered to fight against Israel. Similarly, Israel's international standing is deteriorating due to its genocidal campaign in Gaza, while Iran is gaining popularity worldwide for advocating for the Palestinian cause.
This determination to exact retribution has not gone unnoticed by Western nations and regional allies of Iran. Recent diplomatic engagements and visits by political figures, such as the Jordanian foreign minister, indicate a recognition of the depth of Israel's audacity and an understanding of Iran's unwavering resolve for relentless retaliation.
دفعه پیش این اتفاق افتاد. خیلی‌ها با تهران تماس گرفتن.
Last time, on the eve of the Operation True Promise, many urged Tehran to cancel the operation. But what did Tehran do? It made its own decision, ignoring all requests and pressures from various parties. Today, once again, it will be Tehran that makes the final decision. But will Iran's potential operation against Israel resemble Operation True Promise? It's all up to Tehran. What is crucial is the unpredictability of Tehran's next move, which would keep Israel on edge. This is part of a larger scenario crafted by Tehran against the occupation regime.
We have a lot more to cover today, but let's just take a moment to catch up on the latest headlines.
Hello everyone, welcome to the news section of this program. Here, we'll go over some important news headlines. Iran President, U.S. double standards embolden Israel to commit more crimes. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has said that double standards implemented by the U.S. and some other Western countries have emboldened the Israeli regime to commit crimes in Gaza and regional countries, which has endangered peace and security in West Asia and beyond. Pezeshkian made the comments on Sunday as he spoke with European Council President Charles Michel on the phone. The Iranian president said that his country supports peace and security for all countries across the globe, while maintaining that any move threatening peace in any part of the world should be halted. Tehran Times leader's aide says severe and crushing response to Israel ready. Iran has completed legal, diplomatic, and media preparations to carry out severe and crushing retaliation against Israel for the assassination of former Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh, declared Ali Shamkhani, a political advisor to the leader of the Islamic Revolution. Post published on X on Saturday, Shamkhani said the regime only understands the language of force. He pointed to Israel's earlier attack on a school sheltering hundreds of civilians in Gaza, considering it a sign that Zionists are not serious about establishing calm in the war-torn enclave. The only goal of Israel in killing worshippers at Tabin school in Gaza, assassinating Martyr Haniyeh in Iran, is warmongering and derailing the truce talks. Mehr News. Iraqi resistance warns U.S. over using airspace against Iran. Iraqi resistance forces say their response will have no limits if U.S. forces use Iraqi's airspace to attack Iran. The Iraqi Resistance Coordination Committee issued the warning in a statement on Monday, as the forces of arrogance continue their brutal and treacherous attacks against nations and the resistance combatants. They persist in their support and protection of the security of the Zionist entity at the expense of the security of the region, without regard for the sovereignty of Iraq or the nations rejecting their criminal policies, the Iraqi resistance statement said. The Guardian. U.S. orders a strike group to accelerate deployment to Middle East amid fears of Iran attack on Israel. The U.S. has ordered a strike group of fighter jets and Navy warships to accelerate its deployment to the Middle East as the region braces for possible attacks by Iran and its allies after the killing of senior members of Hamas and Hezbollah. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin ordered the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group to accelerate its deployment to the region, while at the same time announcing the deployment of a guided missile submarine after speaking with Yoav Gallant. Analysts noted that it was rare for the Pentagon to publicly announce the deployment of a submarine. Axios. New Israeli intelligence suggests Iran prepares to attack Israel within days. Sources. The Israeli intelligence community's updated assessment is that Iran is poised to attack Israel directly in retaliation for the assassination of Hamas's political leader in Tehran, and is likely to do it within days. Two sources with direct knowledge of the issue told Axios. Over the last week, Israeli intelligence thought Iran hadn't yet decided on the timing and nature of its response, and that international pressure and internal debates could push Iran's leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei towards postponing, restraining, or minimizing the retaliation against Israel. And thank you for joining us in this section. Please do stay tuned for the main narrative.
As the countdown begins and the specter of an inevitable confrontation between Tel Aviv and Tehran draws near, one pressing question emerges. What will be the repercussions for both sides, the region and the world at large? And will the regime even survive to witness another year? As Netanyahu anxiously awaits a potential attack from Iran each night, the prolonged 10-month conflict in Gaza has taken a significant toll on the Israeli army. Once regarded as a formidable military force, the Israeli military is now grappling with challenges stemming from Israel's diverse demographic composition and cultural landscape, which provide fertile ground for psychological warfare campaigns against the regime. Meanwhile, Netanyahu returned from the U.S. without securing approval for a large-scale attack on Lebanon, leaving him in a precarious position. As the U.S. elections approach with the potential for Trump to lose, pressure is mounting on Netanyahu to capitalize on the current situation before the electoral outcome could limit his options. Moreover, Israel's actions in Gaza have fostered a growing negative sentiment towards the regime. Although Israel has long touted itself as one of the largest democracies in West Asia, significant scrutiny from the media and legal entities is intensifying the critique of its policies. Last but not least, the financial burdens of ongoing warfare are exacting a heavy toll on the Israeli economy. Recent days have seen flight cancellations, a burgeoning crisis in tourism, and devastating effects on Israeli trade and economy. Just recently, the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps unveiled a formidable arsenal of domestically produced military equipment. This includes hundreds of newly crafted drones and missiles, among them cutting-edge cruise missiles with stealth technology invisible to enemy radars. At a recent ceremony in Bandar Abbas, the IRGC announced the delivery of hundreds of new missile systems, drones, and naval equipment. The armaments include advanced long and medium-range anti-ship and cruise missiles, reconnaissance and combat drones, and electronic warfare systems. Notably, the cruise missiles feature advanced warheads designed to inflict significant damage on large vessels and incorporate stealth technology to evade detection by enemy radars. This enhancement of Iran's military capabilities aligns with the strategic vision of the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, emphasizing national strength and independence in a geopolitical landscape often dominated by superpowers.
تجهیزاتی که بالاخره رونمایی شده چه در حوزه‌های
What the IRGC recently unveiled in Bandar Abbas are a collection of precise weapons intended for defensive purposes. They're not meant for offensive actions unless in response to enemy aggression. Again, they've been designed to safeguard the country's security and territorial integrity. After all, Iran has extensive coastlines and there are various industrial centers located there, necessitating effective defense against rogue actors such as the Israeli regime and the United States, which have already threatened Iran with military action.
The unveiling of these defense achievements coincides with the U.S. escalating its military presence in the region to support Israel amidst rising tensions following the recent assassination of the Hamas leader in Tehran. Although details about specific weapon systems were limited, a visual presentation included models like the Ababil 5 drone and new anti-ship missiles such as Qadir and Qadir, capable of striking targets up to 300 kilometers away. Additionally, the display featured the Talaye cruise missile with a range of 1,000 kilometers and the FAT 360 tactical ballistic missile.
در مورد قابلیت‌های این در واقع سلاح‌ها
As for the capabilities of these weapons, the Islamic Republic of Iran prefers to maintain a level of ambiguity, suggesting the existence of advanced weaponry without revealing specifics. What is evident is that all these weapons represent cutting-edge technology. We are now witnessing new generations of weapons designed and manufactured by Iran, enhancing its capabilities in naval warfare. I believe that Iran's adversaries have received this message and will factor it into their decision-making processes.
Among the new weaponry was a mysterious dual octagonal tube rocket launcher speculated to be a supersonic cruise missile. Collectively, this latest arsenal, comprising hundreds of missiles and various drone systems, rivals that of many NATO member nations. That's all for today. Thank you for watching from the whole team. Please do join us again same times next week to see what else is on. Till next time, take care.